After another successful Batman movie under their belt, Tim Burton and Michael Keaton were set to come back and make it a trilogy of Batman movies together. But the studio had other ideas, as there was some backlash from some merchandise licenses. Well, look, only one really. McDonald's, who complained that the movie was too dark for kids, and as a result, they sold less Happy Meals with the Batman Returns tie-ins. So, the hard word was put on Warner Brothers to make the next Batman movie more kid-friendly so they could sell more Happy Meals. And let's face it, in this day and age of business over creativity, Tim Burton got the arse, with Michael Keaton quick to follow after seeing what the new director, Joel Schumacher, had in mind, which led them to go hire a new Batman in Val Kilmer. And together, they made what can only be described as the day-glow neon, kid-friendly fever dream that is This is a live-action superhero film that comes in at 122 minutes and debuted into cinemas on the 16th of June 1995. The movie was written by Lee Batchler, Janet Scott Batchler and Akiva Goldsman, and was directed by none other than Joel Schumacher. It was released on DVD on the 25th of March 1997 and on Blu-ray on the 19th of May 2009, as well as on 4K HD on the 4th of June 2019. The story has Batman trying to stop the horribly scarred schizophrenic villain Two-Face, who is on a one-man mission to kill Batman, who he blames for not stopping the attack that turned him into Two-Face. But when the Riddler, a disgruntled ex-Wayne Enterprises inventor seeking revenge against his former employer, he joins forces with Two-Face as they hatch a plan to use and unleash his brainwave-sucking weapon on Gotham City's residents to find out the secret identity of Batman and destroy him. In the meantime, Bruce is struggling with his tortured memories of his parents' murder as he starts a new romance with a psychologist, Chase Meridian, and it takes a young orphan acrobat named Dick Grayson, whose parents were killed by Two-Face. Can Bruce come to terms with his childhood trauma in time to build a partnership with his new sidekick Robin to bring the evil forces of Two-Face and Riddler to justice before they wreak havoc on Gotham City?
Justice time.
The plot, well, it's a bit of a mess, as it was rewritten to take out a lot of the story's darker tone, as, let's face it, the word was put onto the studio, come on, let's make it kid-friendlier. So, as it happened, it got chopped up a bit from what potentially could have been somewhat of an actual good script, to tell you the truth, as the rewritten version of this included, look, it just honestly, it used the usual checklist of predictable twists and turns that feel more like a bit of a soap opera than a superhero epic. It's clear that they prioritized spectacle over substance, resulting in a narrative that really lacks depth in the script and originality, with the villains Two-Face and Riddler being really reduced to just caricatures of their comic book origins, with their motivations and character development like really sacrificed for over-the-top theatrics that literally border on parody. And let's not forget the forced attempts at a psychological depth to the story, which fell way short of its intentions, unlike, say, the first two Batman movies before it that managed to do this so well. Look, Batman's internal struggles are presented with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer, as if the audience can't grasp the nuance. The exploration of duality feels like a cheap excuse to throw in some flashy visual effects and a very lackluster romance with no less a psychologist, rather than a genuine exploration of the character's duality and the guilt he kind of feels over his parents' death. When you look at this as a whole, this script is a bit of a haphazard mishmash of tired tropes, missed opportunities that was really sanitized down for younger audiences. It's almost a disservice to the rich source material and a prime example of how not to handle a beloved superhero franchise that was, really successful, delving into the darker elements of the Batman character. Look, if you're looking for a thoughtful and a well-crafted script, well, you're better off revisiting the last two movies. So, look, for that, the best I can do for this one is give it a 10 out of 30.
Nice form, but a little rough on the landing. He may have to settle for the bronze.
Now, this movie is not based on any comic book story that I could find in my research. And look, for me, Joel Schumacher did a massive 180-degree tonal shift from the darker, more gothic atmosphere that Tim Burton created in the first two Batman films to a more vibrant and colourful Gotham City that looks like it's been almost run through a kaleidoscope, infusing the film with this overtly vibrant neon lit aesthetic that sets a dramatically different feel to Gotham City, from like a broken, crime-ridden city that needs Batman to this like happy-go-lucky party town that doesn't have a care in the world.
Are your people always so carefree and gay?
I also want to talk about that goddamn monstrosity that is the Batmobile. Oh my god, it just goes without saying that it has to be the worst Batmobile I've ever seen the character ever drive through film or comics. And let's face it, he's driven some duds before. Not only does it look like it's the shell of a car that was just never finished, but it looks so flimsy that even in some of the shots of the car going through Gotham City, you can see it shaking like it's about to fall apart, like it's made out of paper or something. It's just plain terrible.
Because this is the worst thing I have ever seen.
As far as the cast go, I'll just have them up here. You have to admit, for the time, this was pretty much a who's who of the most popular stars of the 90s. So when you get some great actors together, you've got a hit on your hands, right?
You're so wrong, bro! So wrong!
Look, let's start with our star of the movie, Val Kilmer, and his portrayal of Batman, which feels more like a mannequin dressed up in a cape than a brooding, complex character that we have pretty much had previously. His delivery is so devoid of emotion that you're starting to wonder if he's reading his lines off cue cards. With it being so flat and deadpan, he almost looks bored the whole time. And for me, one big thing that just annoyed me so much about his performance is his lack of duality in the role, as his personality just does not change between Batman or Bruce or vice versa. And in my book, that is key to playing this character, which I felt Michael Keaton actually did a really good job. Definitely better than Val Kilmer, that's for sure.
Fantastic performance.
Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face should have been a fantastic performance, but it sounds like he was ill-informed about who and what this character is about. And instead of embodying the tragic and conflicted nature of Harvey Dent, Jones hams it up with like manic laughter and exaggerated facial expressions that make you question if he's even aware that he's in a superhero movie and not in a high school pantomime. Then, oh god, and then there's Jim Carrey as the Riddler, who should have killed this role, but ended up giving a performance that can literally only be described as a live action cartoon. Carrey's trademark overacting is on full display, turning the Riddler into a grating and exhausting spectacle rather than a compelling antagonist. For me, it just feels like we're watching Jim Carrey turned up to 11 in a Riddler costume and not the actual character of the Riddler. Now look, as far as our supporting cast goes of Nicole Kidman and Chris O'Donnell, look, they do little to salvage the situation. Kidman's character is very two-dimensional as she plays this overly horny psychologist who stalks Batman like some crazed groupie trying to sleep with him. And as far as O'Donnell's Robin, it comes across as, how can I put it, very genetic, angsty teenager who, let's face it, it feels like the only reason he was put there was to be like the next teen heartthrob idol, as opposed to being an integral part of the story. In the end, the acting in this movie is it's a parade of exaggerated performances that do a disservice to the iconic characters they're meant to portray. It's a cringeworthy display that leaves you longing for the days of superhero movies that were cast with actors who understood the nuances of their role rather than treating them as an excuse for theatrical grandstanding. And look, for that, I'm definitely going to give this a 6 out of 20.
You, above all, should know the consequences of the life you choose.
Okay, as we look at the cover, and of course, we've been through this with the last two, and I'm sure we're going to go through it again with the next one, is that it's just the logo, nothing special, yet again. But I know some people say, oh, I don't like the question mark. I think that's a really smart idea because it really encompasses that with that question. I always actually really loved that logo out of the other ones. But from a graphic design perspective, yeah, it's just the logo, so there's not a real lot there. And of course, as I've shown before, the side there, it's just the same as the others. Looks good all together, but nothing special if you just had it on its own. And the back, well, we get a few more pictures on this one, but it's still pretty much, because it's got to cover all the special features, and there's so many special features yet again in this. But basic nonetheless. So if we look at the disc, not bad actually. We've only get Batman and Chase Meridian there with that god-awful bloody Batmobile there. So yeah, probably would have been nice to have the two villains in there maybe. That's just me. But yeah, at least there's a picture that's a little better. Overall, yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. It's just like the other ones. And like I said, as a set, they look great. Individually, nothing special. So for that, I'm only going to give it the same as I have before, and that is a 7 out of 10.
What's that stand for? Robin.
So special features, just like the last two, chockers full of special features. And if you love your special features, there's some great stuff here. And they include an audio commentary, Beyond Batman, Shadows of the Bat, the cinematic saga of The Dark Knight Part 5, Reinventing a Hero, Riddle Me This, Why is Batman Forever, Batman Forever The Heroes, Batman Forever The Villains, a music video, deleted scenes, and the trailer. Like the other movies before, there's just so much to watch. Like, you end up watching more special features than you do the movie. But it's funny, watching the special features on this, it was like everyone was talking about their visions and how they went about things. But this time around, you can kind of tell, well, at least I could kind of tell, some people didn't really believe what they were saying and were also probably trying to make themselves believe that what they did was great and groundbreaking, which, let's face it, it wasn't. So look, it does give you more insight into the movie, but it feels like they're trying so hard to sell you what they did as a good job, as opposed to the bad job we all know they did. Anyway, with all these special features, look, instead of giving it 10 like the last couple, I'm actually going to give it a 9.
I'm Batman. Thanks, so I forgot my suit, all right?
As I bring up the Rotten Tomatoes scorecard, you can see that the critics came in at 40%, while the audience score came in at 32%. That's pretty bad when you compare it to the last two movies. And as I've already mentioned, this is due to the kid-friendly movie it became, with the poor script, the over-the-top performances, and Joel Schumacher at the helm. It's really not hard to see how it got this score. Let's face it, I totally agree with these scores all around. So when we round it up, we're only going to get a score of, not a great one, 4 out of 10.
I have a riddle for you.
Really?
For a movie that should have been my favourite in the franchise, as it had my favourite Batman villain, yes, that's right, the Riddler, in it, oh geez, it was nothing short of disappointing. You know, like, I remember just being so pumped to see this movie at the time when it came out, and like a lot of other people too, I was a Jim Carrey fan and thought he was the only man to do the job. But oh my god, talk about ruin it for me. He wasn't so much as he was playing the Riddler character as he was, you know, being this over-exaggerated version of himself in a Riddler costume. And with Tommy Lee Jones, like, and his clear lack of understanding about the character he was playing. And then, of course, you got Val Kilmer, who was just flat and deadpan. It was almost like a piece of cardboard, with possibly one of the worst takes on Batman we've probably seen on screen. Though we still haven't got to the real reason this movie is the way it is. And I bet you're screaming at your TV, hey Troy, what about Joel Schumacher? He's the real reason why this movie is the way it is. Isn't he the one to blame for this mess? Well, my fine viewer, I'm about to take you down the path of my hot take on this movie. Because as I've been doing some of my research into this movie, I have found out who the true villain of our story is. And no, it's not Joel Schumacher. Sure, this movie is his vision, but I say he did what he was hired for, and he did it well. But Troy, well, if not him, then who's the real villain? I hear you ask. Well, my friends, that is McDonald's.
What the hell?
Yep, our evil, greedy overlords of fast food. They are the true villain of this story. And it is because they did not get the Happy Meal sales they were after on Batman Returns. So what do? They put the big pressure on Warner Brothers to get them a kid-friendly Batman movie so they can push out and sell more junk food to the kids. And of course, you know what Warner Brothers did? They bent a knee and bowed down to their fast food masters. Just like that. And that is where the true villainy lies, my friends, where corporate greed wins over creativity and gives us a watered down movie to sell goddamn Happy Meals. And that is why Tim Burton got the arse, and we never got to see the real Batman trilogy we all wanted and deserved. Hey, look, if I'm wrong, by all means, get down there and roast me in the comments. Do your worst, but keep in mind, deep down you know I'm right. Anyway, look, rant over, okay? Look, there are some glimpses of what could have been a good movie underneath all of that day-glow, kid-friendly facade. But for that, the best I could do it for my personal liking is a 5 out of 20.
Can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?
I'll get drive-through.
Okay, on the collectability scale, if we look at it, this one's probably, I wouldn't say it's a 5, I'm going to say this is a 4, as, look, most people just like the first two movies and trying to forget about these two, and that's fine, I get that, and don't get me wrong, it's better to have the 4, even though 2 aren't so great and 2 are, but it's better to have the whole thing. It's kind of like the Superman collection. 2 aren't so good, but the first 2 are pretty good. Same thing again, but you still want to have the collection. So that's why I'm going to put this one at probably 4 as opposed to 5 for the others. And availability, well, it's just like all the other ones. You literally can walk down the street and trip over a version of DVD, Blu-ray or 4K, as there are just so many out there. Now, for your average price, you're kind of looking at somewhere between the $7 to $15 mark for DVD. But if you're looking at Blu-ray, well then you're probably looking around the $13 to $29 mark. And of course, if you're going to splurge and get that 4K HD, that comes in at around $24 to $49 as of this video. Now, for the final score, we get a grand total of 41 out of 100. Yeah, that's a bit of a drop from the last two. Look, which is no surprise. When you have a Joel Schumacher's A Dayglow neon kid-friendly fever dream and a script that was rewritten to be less about Batman and more about selling merchandise, it was a certified recipe for disaster.
A girl can't live by psychoses alone.
It's the car, right? Chicks love the car.
So, if you like this video, you want to see some more of my reviews, why don't you click that one there? Or maybe you want to see some of my collection updates. Got you covered too. Go and click that one there. And of course, don't forget to do the most important thing. Don't forget to throw me a like. And don't forget to hit that subscription button on the way out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.